amazing things, especially during Native American Heritage Month. And during this month, we'd like to pay tribute to that rich history and tradition of Native Americans. But one local nonprofit does this all year round.
That's right. The Nokomis Cultural Heritage Center works every day to preserve the beautiful culture and language of Native Americans throughout Michigan. And Claudia had an opportunity to sit down with the people behind those efforts to talk about the amazing work that they do within the community. She heard them talk about how they preserve the culture as well as some of the problems still impacting Native Americans right here today. So why don't we take a look?
A lot of those stories and these traditions we had to hide for a long time.
We had a student in here, he asked, he says, are there any Indians left?
Odawa, Potawatomi, and the Ojibwe. When you say Anishinaabe you're referring to those three individual tribes.
It's a long road, coming to this, and we still have a long ways to go.
Stand your ground. That's what I did.
Michigan Native Americans have such a rich culture, language, and history. And that's why the Nokomis Cultural Heritage Center is so much more than a museum.
It's taken years, just honestly, to get the public accepting, with as far as on Native culture, or even wanting to hear, and also the history of it, though, too.
It's a place for their stories, told by their people, past and present, coming alive in an immersive environment. Earlier centers existed, but none have had quite the impact like Nokomis. Alphonse remembers what it was like when he moved here.
There's so many problems associated with living in the city, and a lot of people coming out of the woods were experiencing that. So you needed a center where you could learn something.
It was nice with an Indian center because it drew the Native people to come and gather.
As a member of the Little Travers Bay Band, it was the kind of place Carol was looking for after moving away from home. She got familiar with the center until it eventually disbanded.
When we leave our reservations and move into these big cities, we're on our own. We lose a lot of that support from our tribes. So that's why the places like Nokomis and Indian centers give us a place of home.
Nokomis is not only educating the culture, but they're bringing Native people are now, we're converging on the Nokomis Center, and it's getting stronger.
Today, Nokomis plays a critical role in preserving culture and history of Anishinaabe people of the Great Lakes region, because for a long time, it was illegal to.
Until the 70s, we were not allowed to even learn our own culture. It was illegal.
Today, things are different. But Native communities are still fighting to reclaim it, and the fight is never over. And language is a key piece of that. Alphonse is a fluent speaker and teacher of Anishinaabe.
It's available to learn if they want to learn.
Alphonse teaches the language across Michigan at several universities and Native centers like Nokomis. He enjoys teaching the language, but he's run into a few problems.
25% of the world's languages are unwritten. And ours happens to be one of those. We're only starting to get in there. And until we standardize somehow, nothing is going to change.
But standardization is complicated within a language that varies greatly across the region.
That's something that the students need to understand right now. And get to work on it.
We have the teachers here, we have the resources. Why aren't these language classes in all public schools so that we're all learning?
Ramona says this isn't just an Anishinaabe issue, it's a Michigan issue. Just look around.
Look at the state we live in. Half of the names in our cities are in these languages. When you say Mackinac Island, Ishpeming, Michigan, there's all kinds of words in the state that you're already speaking. So for me, I think we need more support from the state.
Nokomis believes preservation is something all Michiganders should care about, but you have to know what you're preserving first, and Nokomis will teach you.
You come in, you're humble, and you learn. That's the best thing you can do, and you will feel welcome.
Kathy Yates didn't know much about Native Americans when she came here, but she kept coming back, and that happens a lot. John remembers a student who brought his entire family back after a field trip.
There was a seed planted, and he will carry that now for the rest of his life. As he becomes an adult, his outlook on people, and how he thinks about it rather than what the old narrative has always been.
Nokomis is here to serve and preserve every story, the good, the bad, and the downright incredible.
One of my favorite things to do is find cool stories in history and remind people. We were just talking about Company K, the sharpshooters. They were made up of 150 Anishinaabe soldiers from Michigan. That's cool. Third graders need to hear that.
To strengthen their feeling that, you know what, it's good to be Native.
Because preserving Native American culture is about preserving Michigan.
When you hear stuff like that, that gives you not just pride as being Anishinaabe, but just being from Michigan.
Well, the Nokomis Cultural Heritage Center invites everybody to come and check them out. Trust us, you won't regret it. I've been there a few times. You just learn, you just soak it up. You're like a sponge when you're learning everything in there. So you can find more information on how to take those languages courses and attend events on their website, or you can head to Facebook where they're always updating everything.
That's right.
But we are just getting started here on